Hello, my name is Stuart, as many of you know, the unrepentant atheist. So, today I'm going to be reviewing a Matt Dillahunty debate. Is Islam true? How many of these debates have I reviewed about Matt Dillahunty debating, is Islam true? I think this must be the third or fourth, and on this occasion it's on the channel Modern Day Debate, and it's against somebody by the name of Hussein. I'll put a link in the description. So obviously it's a debate which lasts about 1 hour and 50 minutes. It's quite a long one, really. I don't believe it really justifies that kind of runtime, but I suppose that they got through quite a lot, but obviously there was a lot of repetition. The super chats, questions and answers at the end occupied about half an hour. Okay, so let's have a look. It took place on a stage by the looks of it. There's a dartboard. I was quite amused to see a dartboard to the left of the picture. Haven't played darts in years. So I've made some notes and I'm just going to go through them. I must say though that I see that Matt's best days are behind him. His career certainly does seem to be on a downward trajectory. Gone are the days when he was debating on the stage with Richard Dawkins and Jordan Peterson, who else, Sam Harris, etc. Some of the big names, some of the big names, illustrious names. I can't really see that is going to be happening again with anybody of any note, and consequently there will be more debates exactly like this one with a complete nobody. Matt apparently had to drive 4 hours to get to the debate venue. I don't know how much he was paid, but I hope it was worth his while. It was not the best of debates I've seen by a long way, and that is an understatement. So let's just go through. Obviously each of them made their opening statements. The arguments that, if you can call them arguments, that Muslims keep coming back to is that in the Quran there's too much that is stated that could only possibly have been known by a god at that particular time. One of the examples given is that there is a quote in the Quran which talks about treasures gushing up from the desert, and he interpreted this as referring to the oil wealth, which in the 19th and 20th century put money into the economies of Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia, etc., and that only a god could have known about this. Matt countered, saying that the actual language is not specific enough, and that at the time there were other treasures coming out of the ground, precious stones, for example, and there were merchants and trading in those stones. So there was already wealth coming from the land in the stones, plants, crops, whatever, minerals. So, but of course, in those days they didn't know that oil was worth nothing in those days, but there's nothing specific. It's interpreting after the fact, post hoc interpretation, which we've seen not only with Islam, we've also seen with Christianity and Christians going back to the Bible, and out of thousands, tens of thousands of verses, finding something and interpreting it after the fact. So I didn't find that particularly convincing. Obviously, that went on for some, 10 or 15 minutes. There was the argument from Contingency that Hussein referred to. Matt rejected that, saying that he was drawing a distinction between synthetic truths and analytic truths. And quite amusingly, he said that the way to remember it is that analytic truths tend to be definitional and you can pull them out of your ass. And he said analytic truth, think of A, think of anal, and you could remember the distinction between that and synthetic truths, which I thought was kind of amusing, worth remembering probably. At 51 minutes and 35 seconds, oh sorry, just to say, obviously Matt did reject that. He said that intuition was typically used to arrive at these analytic so-called truths, and that in any case with analytic propositions one tends to pile one on top of the other, and they're not rationally connected, and they couldn't possibly lead to the conclusion. So yeah, so at 51:35 minutes, I found it was sort of amusing. So did Matt. Hussein's mobile phone suddenly started ringing, and his ringtone was something like an Islamic, I don't know, song, prayer or something like that. Matt chuckled, and he commented that he'd like to have that for his ringtone. It just shows you how boring the debate was that I'm having to mention something like that as a highlight. Well, I've heard this before, but Hussein, after some time they were arguing backwards and forwards, he said to Matt, and we've heard this from Christians as well, I've heard it from Christians, Stuart, nothing will ever convince you. And he said, Hussein said to Matt, after he'd gone through all his arguments and Matt had rejected them one after the other, he said, Matt, nothing will ever convince you. Matt accused him of being a liar, and that only a liar would use such an argument. And you could only use such an argument if you didn't have convincing evidence, which I suppose is true. Matt's alarm went off. Blood sugar alarm, obviously, don't know how many of you realize. Matt is a diabetic, so he's got this blood sugar alarm which went off. And he mentioned something about his up-and-coming colonoscopy, yeah, that's a pronunciation, which, as far as I know, is an internal investigation of the colon. And from what I know about it, it's probably not quite as bad and horrible a thing as, shall we say, a prostate biopsy, a 16-needle prostate biopsy. So I'm sure it will be unpleasant for him to have that, but better that than a prostate biopsy, something that any man should fear. Let's have a look. What else are we coming to? Yeah, we're coming to claims now. This thing about moon splitting, and the fact that in the Quran there are claims, and that a Muslim will believe these claims without question. The claims are enough to be taken as evidence. This is something which is obviously not going to convince anybody and not be accepted by anybody, and in my view shouldn't be accepted by anybody. If one was to accept such a thing, such a preposterous proposition as that claims themselves constitute evidence, then what's to stop us from accepting other religions such as Christianity? Well, Hussein said that he'd studied Christianity, he'd studied Judaism, the three Abrahamic religions, and that in his view Christianity couldn't be true because of the Trinity, that three gods in one just didn't work, and that Islam was far more probable, and that therefore he was more inclined on a rational basis to accept the claims of Islam than the claims of Christianity. So yeah, so obviously we had that special pleading, and we know what Christians will say, that Islam couldn't possibly be true because there's no salvation in it, there's no resurrection, and Christianity makes more sense. Of course, somebody might well accuse atheists of special pleading, but I don't see how. We only see and we only reject all the God claims that are put in front of us because there is insufficient evidence, and all we ever see from all the different theistic religions is special pleading. My religion makes more sense because So, yeah, one thing that Matt asked Hussein, was there a global flood? His answer, yes. In that case, why did the majority of the world's cultures at that time not record anything about it? Why is there nothing in the historical record mentioning a flood? Hussein's response, floods did happen in those times. Matt's response, yes, floods happen, yes, local floods, but not a global flood. So, okay. Near the end, we got to this refuge that a lot of theists take when all their arguments have failed. And Hussein asked Matt, do you believe that you're here debating me? And Matt got a bit angry and said, well, if you're going down that road, then you've conceded the debate. You've now abandoned all of your evidence, and you're now going towards this foundationalism that I can't have a rational justification. I can't have a foundation for any belief or any claim simply because I don't accept the existence of a God, this circular argument. And that's how really it ended up. Hussein's claim that Matt has got no criteria to know anything at all, which of course we've heard from presuppositionalists, and presuppositionalism is now, it seems to me, creeping into Islam. In fact, the Islamic apologetics, I think it's possibly the first time, that's one new thing that came out of this debate. They don't usually resort to presuppositionalism. So that was new. And there was something said about misogyny in Islam, and Hussein said, well, men and women are equal, but men and women are different biologically and we've got different roles. So there was this whole apologetics on suppression of women, etc. Matt said, well, can women inherit in Islamic society? And he proved that women are not equal, but women and men have got different roles. I've heard this before. I've not only heard it from Muslims, I've also heard it from Christians. So that's about it, really. I can't believe I got through that. Yes, I did listen to the whole debate. That's how boring a day I've had here. As some of you know, I run an eBay business, and while I'm packing and doing other stuff, I'm listening to this and I'm making notes. I can't be a full-time YouTuber because obviously that's not how I earn my money, but I feel that I can listen well to what's going on at the same time. I've got a slightly mechanical job with some of the packing things that I do, so I can use time in that particular way. Let me know if you watched the debate and whether you picked up anything of any note which I haven't covered. Obviously I can't cover everything. I've just picked out the points which I felt were the most salient and important to me. And yeah, so I wish Matt would stop doing accepting these challenges from Muslims. He must have something better to do, even if it's just keeping Arden company at home and spending time breeding snakes and playing chess. He must have something better to do than this. On a final note, I'm going to be doing a video, as I've got, obviously, this channel, I started it, when did I start it? Just over a year ago. And I appreciate that some of you may have some sort of curiosity about my own biography. Well, whether you have or not, I'm going to be doing a video on my own biography and trying to put into context my interest in atheism and why I started the channel and all that kind of thing, where I am in my life and where I hope to go. I don't know, some of you may find that interesting, some not. Another YouTuber has done it and pointed out to me that it can be a good thing to do. So I thought, why not? I'm going to do that. And I will do it fairly soon. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you supporting my channel, and I'll be back again with another video very soon. Bye for now.